Sunday morning cold, eyes on the score, touchdown dance ball, craving for more. Friends are calling, trades are on fire. Rookies falling, championship desire. Fantasy football fever, chasing the dream. Top of the leaderboard, we're the winning team. Sunday morning gold, eyes on the score, touchdown dance ball, craving for more. Friends are calling, trades are on fire. Rookies falling, championship desire. Fantasy football fever, chasing the dream. Top of the leaderboard, we're the winning team.
The draft is not the end, it's the beginning. I'm Dustin Brown, and with me is Colton Palmer, and we are the Fantasy Football Healers. You can find us at FF Healers and at FF Captain 22 on Twitter X. You can also find us on YouTube. Just search FF Healers for shorts, podcast videos, and fantasy league related videos. And this is episode 50.
The big 5-0, man. Holy crap, we made it. Hey, look, Ma, we made it. My goodness.
It's been at least a year now that we've been doing this. I mean, we already had the Back to the Future pod, and now we've already had Arnold's. I'll be back to the draft. Like, we're doing it, man.
So much has happened in this whole year, and yet here we are still standing strong. I'm proud of us just for making it here. It's been a great time, and I'm ready to keep riding this train out. It's been a blast, and look, my cat's making it to episode 50 because he won't stop walking across my keyboard. But
He's as excited as we are.
He is. He's just ready for the party. We got a great episode today, just recapping this draft. So super pumped to be here with you on the big 5-0, man.
Now, let's just go back a second about the.
All right, meow.
I couldn't even keep a straight face with that one. It was a little forced. My apologies.
We'll stitch it together.
We'll stitch it together. His cat's name is
my
Stitch.
cat. That's
Yep. So the Huddle Report, we submitted the NFL mock draft, and we ended up scoring 31 points, which ended up being 1 point behind Chris Collinsworth, 3 points behind Thor Nystrom, 4 points behind Ray G from Destination Devi, and Alex Dunlap of Roster Watch. The two winners did have 52 points, so I was a far cry from winning the Huddle Report in regards to the NFL mock, but it was really exciting to have a chance to at least compete with the best of the best. It's been such an exciting year. We're at episode 50 right now. The Huddle Report contest, got to go to the Combine this year, and you know what? I'm feeling pretty good. The NFL draft has already kicked things off for the 2025 fantasy football season. I'm already 2 fantasy football rookie drafts in. One was the pre-draft process. The other one was the day after the NFL draft. I've got another one that's coming Saturday. I've got another one the following Saturday. Like, there is just so much to be excited for, Colton.
Not only do you have one this Saturday, but the OG League, our OG League that got all of this started, is this Saturday. So I'm looking forward to it. And man, this is the good time right before we hit the crash of the summer where it's all just speculation talks. But either way, we'll be here for it. We'll be having a good time, still talking some fantasy football.
Yeah, absolutely. Today's pod is going to be mostly about the NFL draft. But before we get to that, I'd like to break into some news. Vikings traded for Sam Howell. We only had to move back 30 spots in day 3 in order to accumulate Sam Howell from the Seahawks. Now the Vikings may have a quarterback.
I would put my faith in JJ McCarthy before
That's the
Sam
way it's sounding,
Howell.
Colton. That's the way it's sounding.
I mean, the dude can sling it. He was setting historically bad numbers percentage-wise, but he threw the ball a heck of a ton and was leading the league in yards at one point during his starter season there in Washington. But he also had historically bad numbers and accuracy and everything. So it's not good, but he's experienced and he can chuck it. So
better backup than Brett Rippon.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Henry Renfrow returns to the NFL. He is signed with the Panthers. The Panthers finally have a wide receiver.
Don't you talk about Adam Thielen that way.
I don't think Adam Thielen is with the Panthers anymore.
Is he still not? Is he no longer with them?
I thought that he ended up with the Broncos now.
Is he really? I must have missed that small.
That might be some breaking news.
Either way, Hunter Renfrow, man, what a guy that just could absolutely came out in the league, dominated as a route runner, like was one of the best route runners in the league, and then he just vanished off of the face of the earth. I mean, the whole entire Raiders franchise went downhill as well. So it only makes sense. But my goodness, the man disappeared, but he's back. He's ready.
Adam Thielen will be playing for the Carolina Panthers in 2025.
Okay, that's what I
swear I read somewhere that he signed on with the Broncos.
I was like, oh gosh, you're doing Adam Thielen dirty like that after all those good years he gave you Vikings.
By the time the season starts, maybe he's a Bronco. And if he is, you've heard it here first on the Fantasy Football Healers program. Hit that like and subscribe button.
Arnold's still releasing some tidbits to us from the future.
Our minds are melted right now. Like, it's unbelievable. Deontay Johnson signs with the Browns. That sounds about right.
Yeah. just another drama queen to have on that franchise.
We are the land of the misfit toys.
No kidding, man. Deshaun Watson, Shadur Sanders, Deontay Johnson.
Spoiler alert.
Let's see if Antonio Brown is available. I'm sure he'll come and play for the Browns.
Misfit toys. Man, if I had a little button for that, that'd be just swell.
We're on the island of misfit toys.
I want to be a dentist. Jordan Travis, 24-year-old quarterback from the Jets, has retired.
Yeah, this is sad news. You and I had actually talked about him late last year, saying how he could be a dark horse to get the job, just because he was playing so well at Florida, and he was playing so well that they essentially got knocked out of the playoffs when it was still the 4-team bidding system because he got injured. Like they were just like, we don't believe in this team anymore just because your quarterback's gone. So he's playing at a pretty good level. There was apparently a controversial hit on him. It was kind of a questionable hit that ended up sending him into this injury now. And he took all of last year off, and he actually kind of had a press conference about it and just said he's just not healthy enough to come back. And he has been advised by multiple medical doctors now that says he should medically retire. So that's what he went and did.
We wish him well. I mean, it's got to be a really tough decision for him to walk away from football at only the age of 24. I mean, he wants to play at 100%, and his ankle's just not giving it to him. And like you said, it was a year and a half ago, and so he put in the rehab, and it was just really unfortunate that he's got to call it quits this early.
Yeah, especially with something like a controversial hit that sounds like someone was purposely trying to take him out, and that's what happened, and they just took away his whole career. So kind of sad.
So I mean, it was really close for Henry Renfroe for almost walking away. Also, he didn't play last year. I'm not sure if you knew why the reason was.
I do not.
He actually had ulcerative colitis, and he had lost 30 pounds last year, and he has gained all of his weight back, and now he seems like he's back to normal. But it took him almost a year and a half to recover from that.
Yeah, man, that ulcerative colitis, it'll get you.
So we're rooting for the kid too. I mean, he was a sensation there with the Raiders there for a couple years.
Yeah, like I was saying, he was a phenomenal route runner. He was one of the best in the league. He was just always open. No one could guard him, and like I said, he just kind of vanished
This
from
is
the
the
face of the earth.
this is the guy that's on your waiver wire. Like if your waivers are open, like you don't have to pay anything for him. Just put a waiver claim in. You can get him on the cheap, and there's a chance. Again, he's with the Panthers. Like you don't know which flavor they're going to put out there each year. Um, I did. I ended up seeing something just this week about Leggett, and apparently Adam Thielen he was the only one that could understand him. So Leggett would be saying stuff, and no one could understand what Leggett was saying, but Adam Thielen could hear him, and he was the one that was basically translating and telling the entire team. And then they showed a clip of Bryce Young. He's like, I didn't know what he was saying.
An English to English translator.
Yeah. But what
Incredible.
blows my mind is that the Panthers had to trade up in order to get him at the back end of the first round. Did they not have interviews with this guy? Like, how did they have Adam Thielen there, like translating the entire time? Did they say, hey, pick me in the first round? Pick 32. Come on, pick me.
That, that's incredible. I just love that the English to English translator. He does have a thick accent, and I could listen to him talk all day, man. It's pretty funny to me. He just it's like the guy off The Water Boy.
To each their own. I just thought it was an interesting story. Like, how do you trade up for a guy that you can't even understand? And I digress.
It's all the
He
meat
needs
on
that
him,
fifth year
man.
option. We've talked about that multiple times. Now we're going into what is it, year 2 of Leggett, and so you got to only wait 3 more years, and then the breakout, baby, the breakout.
The return on investment will be great.
All right, let's go to the draft, Colton. The first round of the draft, it was still an interesting draft to watch, to say the least. The first round was still entertaining, just a little bit different than what it was from last year. Last year, we had a lot of trades right there from the jump, and we saw a lot of quarterbacks go off the board in the top 12. I think, what was there, 6 quarterbacks that went in the top 12 last year? I'm pretty sure. We didn't have that this year, Colton.
Yes.
Spoiler alert, we didn't have that this year. But the first pick in this year's NFL draft was Cameron Ward, and Arnold hit it right on the nose. Cameron Ward is now a Titan.
Yeah, I mean, this pick wasn't surprising at all. We saw the fall of Will Levis, and we had seen the frustration of his head coach with Will Levis. We knew they were going quarterback, and Cam Ward was the easiest option, as we see of our other options where they land. Yeah, easy option.
The Jaguars traded up from pick 5 to pick 2. Arnold completely changed the future with being on this platform. And the Jaguars now have Travis Hunter, wide receiver / cornerback for their roster. Now the wide receiver 2 for the Jaguars, along with being a substantial improvement in their cornerback core.
So now here's the question for you. Where do you have Travis Hunter standing?
At the wide receiver position?
Correct.
I think he has the highest upside in the class. We've got a lot of wide receiver 2s in the class. I think he automatically jumps into the wide receiver 1 role. My concerns all along, especially with Brian Thomas Jr. and the Jaguars, is every year you think you have the wide receiver 1, and then they change it the next year. And I fear for BTJ, this could be a possibility. Maybe BTJ now isn't the wide receiver 1 for the team. What if now it's Travis Hunter, and then next year it's somebody else? it's just always like a rotisserie style thing with the Jaguars. And honestly, like he's going to be going way too high in most of my drafts. I really don't see any hope of me drafting him. Like I said, I've had a couple drafts. One was pre-draft. I didn't draft him. And then the one that we just had this past week, right after the NFL draft, he went like pick 7, I think. Pick 7. Pick 9. He went pick 9 because I had pick 8. I had an opportunity, but I ended up getting RJ Harvey instead in a very running back needy team. So if you need that upside, Travis Hunter, you could definitely do worse.
I think with the Jaguars, I think this was the dream landing spot for him as a fantasy manager, just because the Jags are crazy enough to do it. They are crazy enough to play him every snap and not care. I mean, their GM is an absolute psychopath and just wiped everything. They wanted Travis Hunter bad enough. They traded up for him and gave away some substantial draft capital to do it. I believe they gave away next year's first round to move up to get him 3 spots. I mean, they were at the 5 and they went to the 2. So obviously they're crazy enough. They're going to use him like no other. And I think you're right. He has the highest upside of this wide receiver core now. And he instantly jumps to that wide receiver 1 position. In terms of like worried about BTJ, I think they're going to complement each other well. You got to remember, like they got rid of a lot of their target earners that was on this team. They got rid of Evan Ingram. They got rid of Christian Kirk. So it's kind of those two, and the board's wide open. And Trevor Lawrence hasn't turned into what everyone thought he was, but he's still just at least a capable quarterback. So I think he's going to be able to support both of them. So as a BTJ owner, I'm not super concerned yet. Especially since Travis Hunter is going to get tired at some point. They're going to have to give him a break, and that's when it's going to be BTJ's time to shine, and he's really going to get those targets. So not overly concerned.
BTJ, he's had quite a connection there with the Jaguars last year on his rookie deal. And then we can't forget also, they also got a new head coach, the coach that was with the Buccaneers last year, who supported multiple wide receivers, even when Godwin and Evans went down. And so there's going to be a huge improvement for the Jaguars. And so, the Jaguars as a whole are huge winners in this year's draft.
Duval. I just love the way he says it.
At pick 6, Ashton Genty goes to the Raiders. One of the best spots that he could have landed. That running back room is completely open, and there's nobody that's going to be fighting him for carries. He's going to carry the whole workload.
Sincerely, you're correct. Because the only other running back is
McCormick.
Sincere McCormick. But come on, man.
You lobbed that one up there.
Oh, that was good. But yeah, I mean, dream landing spot. I think the Raiders are going to be a much better team than what they were last year. They're really working on building it up. They've got Tom Brady's hands in it now as a partial owner, so he's working his little magic that he can. And I mean, he knows how to build an offense. If there's anything that guy knows, it's definitely that. He always was part of playing the hand of building that offense, and he took some of these guys and made them incredible. So I think he's got some tricks up his sleeves, and the Raiders could be a little bit of a dark horse. And Genty, I have a feeling they're gonna use him like a workhorse. So
they're gonna have to, because it's just him and Bowers, pretty much. Him and Bowers, Geno Smith.
They got a wide receiver too.
Myers is there also.
They got a wide receiver.
Later on, which we'll talk about. But stay here so you know who that may be. It is not Tetairoa McMillan. Tetairoa McMillan has been drafted by the Panthers at pick 8.
The same thing, as soon as they drafted him, we both looked at each other on draft night and we're like, well, down the draft board he goes for me.
Not a Ted Rowe fan. I'm perfectly fine with him landing here with the Panthers. I'm hearing all kinds of platforms steaming this guy up, like top 5 super flex pick is what I keep hearing. And I'm sorry, I'm not there. I will have 0 shares of Ted Rowe McMillan, and I don't even care. No shares, no cares, baby.
Yeah, I will not be reaching on this guy in all my mock drafts. He's been going, like at the 2, 3, 4-ish is on average where I've seen him. And I'm like, no,
That far?
no, 2, 3, 4. Like when, 2,
Oh,
3, or 4. Pick 2, 3, or 4.
like
Like 2 through
that's a
4.
big difference. Gotcha.
No. Pick 2 through 4 is where he's been going. I'm like, I'm not willing to spend that draft capital on him. They've got much better options, I think. Going to, I've been optimistic on the Panthers too, and Bryce Young. I've seen sparks. I've been on the more optimistic side of them, and even this one, I'm like, I don't like it. So,
I mean, you know what I think about the Panthers. That's all I got to say about that. Colten Loveland is now a Bear. They ended up at pick 10. They didn't go offensive line. No. They ended up just kind of rewinding it back and said, we're going to go for a playmaker. We're going to go with Colten Loveland.
What are the Bears doing, man? I mean, I understand they have a good defense, so they don't need to spend that much on their defense. It's pretty well built up, but man, they're just like, let's just keep loading on weapons, because we'll talk about another guy later in a little bit here that just made me furious when he went there. Colston Loveland going there. They had Cole Kmet, who there's a lot of people that were big Cole Kmet believers and truthers, and now I don't know what to do with either one of them. I feel like they're going to be splitting time, and so I have a feeling you could see neither one of them being that fantasy productive, because I have a feeling they'll have to split time because Komet's still there. So unless he gets traded away or something, they're going to be splitting that work.
Well, here's a theory. I keep seeing that Goddard. They keep trying to move him from the Eagles. Who's to say that Komet doesn't end up going to the Eagles?
I could see it.
But again, like that doesn't really move the needle for Komet, but it would move the needle a bit more for Loveland. They've got to see a lot, I think, in the preseason in order to make a move like that. But I just don't know how active that he's going to be on game day. They have so many pass catching weapons. It's just unbelievable, which we're going to find out a little bit more come the second round of this NFL draft.
Yeah, I had no idea what they were doing, especially with so many running backs on the board, and they said, nah, we don't need a backfield. We got Swift.
And Roshan, baby.
And Roshan, you're right.
They loved Roshan when they drafted him. The poor guy, every time he gets an opportunity, he gets a concussion. Every time. Every time.
Never had a line, so just kept getting whacked.
Arnold at least gave us another right answer. Tyler Warren, tight end, goes to your Indianapolis Colts.
As a Colts fan, I hate it. As a fantasy manager,
Colts fan, you hate it?
Yeah. You know how many tight ends we have on this team? We've
now you have the tight end.
We have a good one now, but my goodness, there's so many other things we needed. I get it. I do. They wanted some more receiving weapons to try to help out Anthony Richardson. He's beyond help, in my opinion, at this point.
Help Anthony Richardson? No, this helps Indiana Jones. That whipped out. He was like, I need Tyler Warren as will be mine. The Holy Grail.
Please stop. Oh boy, yeah. I mean, it's just it makes me sad for the prospect that Tyler Warren could have been, because you might as well just throw this first year away. I guess with tight ends, usually you're watching them develop anyways for a couple years. We've been a little bit, we've been treated these last couple of years when it comes to tight ends and performing right away. But we're going to see him take a back seat because he just will not have the quarterback play this year from either one, whoever our starter is.
Between these two that have been drafted so far, the tight end position, Colson Loveland and Tyler Warren, which one do you have ahead of each other?
I would put Warren still ahead because the tight end field is his. He's not going to be taken out by any of these schmucks behind him. Unfortunately, my boy Jelani Woods will not be beating Tyler Warren out of that spot. But, Loveland is going to have to compete with Komet. And so for that, I would still put Warren there.
Emeka Ibuka, my wide receiver one of the class. Well, prior to all this Travis Hunter movement. I still love myself Ibuka, but he goes to the Buccaneers. I think he gets a great fit here with the Bucs. Everyone kept comping him to Chris Godwin, and now he's right there with Chris Godwin. Chris Godwin's getting older. Evans is getting older. And Ibuka's there. He's going to start taking on the role, especially as the year goes on. The main person that really hurts is McMillan, and I love McMillan too. But you know who it really helps there, Colton?
My boy! Oh, Baker Mayfield.
Baker Mayfield, baby.
Bakey boo-boos. Oh, yeah.
Shake and bake.
Shake and bake.
What do you think about Ibuka landing here?
I'm sticking with my statement I made on draft night. I love the landing spot for both Ibuka and for Baker Mayfield. It's awesome. I just don't understand it. The Bucs drafted literally younger Chris Godwin after they signed Chris Godwin to like a 3-year extension and gave him all this money. So I'm like, maybe they didn't think that Ibuka would fall to them in the draft. I'm not for sure, but they just signed Chris Godwin, but younger. So I was just like, what are they doing? I don't know. But I mean, I like it for Ibuka and I like it for Baker. We could see in a couple years this wide receiver core become Jalen McMillan and Ibuka. So, Jalen McMillan might still need a little more time to develop. We saw him start coming on it towards the end of the year. Was that just a product of opportunity with Godwin being out of there? I mean, only time will tell us. But, for right now, McMillan just kind of keep holding on to him strong. And people that got Ibuka, it's got to feel good about it. He stayed strong at my number 2 wide receiver with Travis Hunter still moving up to that number 1 spot. But he's held steady right there at number 2 for me.
McMillan got Trey Palmered.
Yeah.
Just completely just blocked. But we know exactly what the Buccaneers are doing here. We saw last year when Evans went out, when Godwin went out, they were down to scraps at the wide receiver position. This gives them a nice quality receiver who, oh, by the way, has played with many other top wide receivers in the NFL that are currently in the NFL today. So he's going to fit right in, Colton.
You know who cooks well with scraps?
Baker?
Baker Mayfield.
A Baker?
Believe in Baker.
Amari and Hampton. He gets one of the nut spots here. He goes to the Chargers. Harbaugh gets his running back of choice. But what does that mean about Najee Harris? They've got Najee Harris and now they've got Amari and Hampton. Does this put a little bit of a damper on Hampton?
No, for me it doesn't. I think the Chargers know what they want to do. We said it last year. They want to run the ball. That's kind of the Harbaugh and Greg Roman way. We saw that they found out they couldn't do that with the backfield they had because J.K. Dobbins was doing awesome, but then he got hurt again for a little bit and missed a few weeks. And then they were down to Gus Edwards and Kamani Vidal, and they saw it wasn't working. And, they trust Justin Herbert with just slinging the ball and Lad McConkey, and we'll talk about a couple other moves they've made later on, which I like. But they want to establish the run. And if one guy goes down, they want to have someone that they can have in there as a backup. And, who better than Omari and Hampton and Najee Harris? Najee's known for just playing every freaking snap of every single game. So he's a good guy to have there to take off a little heat from Amarian so he doesn't get hurt, and also to be there if one of them were to be injured. So I think it was more insurance is what Najee was, but I think he'll get his playing time, and Omarion will just easily take that backfield over, though.
Speaking of runners, Matthew Golden, who ran the top 40-meter run for all the wide receivers with a 4.29 at the combine, has now landed at a spot in Green Bay. Green Bay drafted a first-round wide receiver for the first time in 20 years. Matthew Golden is now a Packer.
Yeah, they haven't picked a first-round wide receiver in 2002, and I think at the end of this next season, they're going to remember why they haven't picked a first-round wide receiver, because they're not very good at doing it. Not a fan. Not a fan of this pick at all. I mean, it's just Matthew Golden he's an okay receiver. We saw a lot of his production come towards the end of the year when there was some injuries and everything, and I'm not a fan in reaching for him in the first round in an already messy wide receiver core. I mean, they said
They passed it around.
yeah, Josh Jacobs came out and said, like, we need that alpha wide receiver. And I just don't think that's not
Alpha.
Golden. He's not an alpha wide receiver. If they were looking for that, they should have looked at someone else. But my goodness, I mean, I think they reached on the wrong guy, and I think they're gonna pay the price because they're just gonna have a messy wide receiver core again this year.
It's hard to trust any of the wide receivers there in Green Bay. I will say that. Speaking of hard to trust, the New York Giants and Kafka.
Who's Kafka? Tell me!
Have traded back into the first round of the NFL draft, and they drafted Jackson Dart. Now, a full room of quarterbacks there in New York. Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston, Jackson Dart, and Tommy DeVito.
Also known as Tommy Cutlets. Yeah. They went
Jackson
with
Dart.
Jackson.
What do you think about Jackson Dart here?
I mean,
Trading back in.
Like I said, this quarterback class for me, I always saw a bunch of second, third round quarterbacks. They had to do it in order to get him, was my feeling. There was other teams probably sniffing around that they got word. I mean, these GMs know a heck of a lot more than us about what other teams are thinking and doing. I mean, still things come up as a shock to them, but they have a relatively good idea. So they must have had a weird angle in that somebody was going to reach up and get him. So they trade back in, get him. As a Jackson Dart, if anyone owns him right now, you got to feel kind of good about the situation. The Giants are going to be going all in to try to win. I mean, Brian Daboll is playing for his job. The GM's playing for his job. They're going to do whatever they can to get him developed and get him playing. So they're going to do what they can to win and get him playing too. So it's going to be one of the better situations that he could go to besides sitting behind, teams that have quarterbacks that aren't good. Jameis is going to play his way out of because they want to win. I don't know what Russ is anymore. He seemed like he was good, and then he wasn't, then he was good, and then he wasn't. But so, I mean, maybe he can learn a thing or two behind Russ from his good parts, but I mean, I think it's a good situation.
Yeah, I think he's going to be kind of like Penix. He's going to only accumulate value if you can get him at the end of the first round or the beginning of the second round in your Superflex rookie drafts. That's probably where you should be drafting him. I wouldn't be drafting him much higher than that personally, but he could be somebody that accumulates value as the season goes on, and just you've got to be patient on him. This guy's a developmental quarterback. We know that, and again, he's completely buried on the depth chart. Arnold Schwarzenegger, he got Cam Ward right. He got what we didn't talk about. Will Campbell did get drafted by the Patriots. Tyler Warren, of course, got drafted by your Colts. He had said that the Lions would draft up for James Pierce Jr. in the first round, but instead it was actually the Falcons that decided to trade future assets in order to get back into the NFL draft because they had to get James Pierce Jr. in the first round. And later on, the Eagles, they couldn't wait at pick 32 to get Jahad Campbell, the linebacker. They had to trade up with the Kansas City Chiefs and get him at actually pick 31 instead of 32. So Schwarzenegger did give us a few picks that were correct, but again, as you know, the future, it's not always set. No fate but what you make. If you recall, Terminator 2, no fate but what you make.
No,
You
I
remember
know.
that?
Oh no, I got it. Yes, I got it.
Speaking of fate, it was fate that the Texans would be drafting wide receiver help early and often in this year's draft. And they started off at pick 2 in the second round with Jaden Higgins, one of the top wide receivers in both of our rankings. He lands here. I was stoked to see him land here with the Texans. But, as we kind of talked about in Arnold's draft, like we had some concerns that maybe there was a bit of an overlap with what playing style that these players are going to have. I've heard him comped like a Nico Collins. And is there going to be too much Nico Collins on the field with him and Higgins?
You can never have enough Nico. That dude is a man. Can never have too many men on the field playing. I think he's gonna fit well. What the Texans are looking for is just consistency, I think, on their field at this point. I mean, Nico is an absolute dominator. And I think Higgins is just going to bring that second target option to take some heat off of Nico. I mean, if you have two guys that are similar playing styles, that it's not the biggest of deal unless they're operating in the exact same area. I mean, you can take these guys and spread them on the opposite ends of the field and it's no big deal. They still have their own space. But like where you run into problems is where you have, the Seahawks, where you have 3 slot guys sitting there right next to each other. They can't all play the slot, but you can have 2 guys wide out. They get their own space, but the slot, you got too much mess.
They want to be on the armpit of the line. They want to be right there in the slot.
I don't see any problems with these 2 meshing together.
Quinshon Judkins gets another premier spot. The running back position is completely open with the Browns. He lands here, sharing a backfield with Jerome Ford. What do we think about Judkins? We don't know about anyone else that was drafted yet.
Oh, okay. We don't know about them. Okay.
We're not there yet, Colton.
We're not there yet. Okay. I mean, I think exactly what they were looking for is their replacement for Nick Chubb. It was questioned on whether Travion Henderson was the better back or Quinshon Judkins, and we saw Quinshon Judkins come off the board first. And I think the reasoning is that they are looking for the guy that can take the brute of the load, the brunt of the load. That's the word I was looking for. They're looking for a guy that's bigger, beefier like Nick Chubb that can just absolutely be a workhorse and get a whole bunch of touches and continue that grind that they had with Nick Chubb. And I don't think Travion Henderson was gonna, he's not gonna scratch that off for them. He was the elusive, speedy guy. Whereas Judkins, I mean, he's gonna be a workhorse, and I think it was a fantastic landing spot for him. It makes me super excited. I'm actually currently fighting back and forth every single day of, do I like him or Henderson more now? It's depends in a day in, day out. I kind of talk myself in and out of it each day. But awesome landing spot for him.
I can't hold it in, Colton. Dylan Sampson gets drafted in the 4th round later on in this draft. And we've got a backfield that has now Sampson, Judkins, Jerome Ford, and we've got a quarterback core that's a circus. Like, we've got all this stuff that's happening with the Browns. They got an offensive line that's going to shambles. They got wide receivers that are jumping around like Deontay Johnson out there. What do we make about this team and the running back core? Like Judkins, Dylan Sampson. Are we worried about Sampson cutting into his workload?
I'm worried about Sampson just absolutely getting pushed out of this team. Sampson, I liked Sampson.
Drafted him in the 4th round.
They did. They drafted him in the 4th round, but they took Judkins beginning of the 2nd. So they like Judkins more, obviously. He's going to be the workhorse. I think Sampson was brought in to be kind of more the elusive guy. and the pass catching guy. He played at Tennessee though, which they have such an odd offense to where they play like the super duper spread. So Sampson never saw those stacked boxes or anything. So his numbers are kind of fidgety with all that. He never had to go against the stacked boxes. And I think Cleveland was like, hey, we can take this guy and we can play that game with him. Like Quinshawn can run between the tackles. He can take the brute force of the line and everything, where Sampson is maybe our elusive back that we can play on third downs and passing and kind of get him out in open field if need be. So I'm not super concerned about them taking any of Quinshawn's touches.
What if I put it this way? What if, and you can see this as clear as day, the Browns are behind by double-digit scores for 3 of the 4 quarters in each game this season. Does that change your outlook on Sampson versus Judkins?
No, not at all. Because Quinshawn Judkins can still catch the ball. It's not like he's incapable of doing it. I think they're going to want to have the ball in their best player's hand, and I think that's Judkins over Sampson no matter what. I think it's just Sampson will be mainly used as that pass catching back on like third downs. It's like, hey, let's go ahead and give Judkins a break. He's been getting beat up out there. Let's switch it up a little bit. Sampson can go and catch some balls if we need him to.
Well, Judkins' teammate, only 2 picks behind him, gets drafted. Travion Henderson gets drafted to the Patriots. You were saying about flipping and flopping between Travion Henderson and Judkins. Well, Travion, he lands in a place that is a growing offense, seems to have a stable quarterback, seems to have, a little bit more excitement around the team as they go into the sophomore year of May. Travion Henderson is now going to be sharing a backfield with Ramondre Stevenson, a very capable running back. What do you make of Travion landing here with the Patriots?
Like I said, it's 2 situations that they're not going to the best teams, and you're looking at the backfields of who's got the better or who's got more competition, and I do think that Travion Henderson has a tougher competition with him. I've never been the biggest fan of Ramondre Stevenson. I thought he was just a guy. And he kind of did prove that last year, that as things were falling apart, that he wasn't able to make things kind of happen on his own. But they have a similar play style, in my opinion. They're kind of more the elusive back, not really the workhorse type. So it's definitely an odd pick to kind of duo these together. So it'll be interesting to see how that shakes out. But I mean, Ramondre is more capable than I think Dylan Sampson and Jerome Ford to me. So that's why I just switch back and forth. Overall, the Patriots have a better outlook in the next couple of years, but it's definitely going to be interesting to see how this backfield shakes out.
Let me burden you with another question. Luther Burden III is drafted by the Bears. The Bears. They have a completely stacked wide receiver core. This is going to be something here, Colton. I have a bet that's out there that I have Luther Burton getting more fantasy points than Tedero McMillan end of season. Am I in trouble?
I don't. This is why I said the Bears just made me so mad this draft. It just makes me so incredibly mad. I love Luther Burden. He was my number 1 prior to going into this. And the crazy part is Luther Burden had comps to DJ Moore. So what is it with these teams? And they're like, oh, they have a comp to this guy? Well, maybe we should go and get him. We got that guy, and maybe let's get the younger version of him. The Bucks did it. Now the Bears have done it. But he is a yards after catch guy, a similar play style to DJ Moore. So I don't know what the Bears were doing. They needed running back help. Maybe they're hoping Travion Henderson fell to him and he just didn't. So they're just kind of taking best pick off the board, best player available. Luther Burden is still, I think, a very capable wide receiver. It just sucks that he kind of is getting buried and now a super saturated receiving core. You got Cole Kmet is capable of catching. Colston Loveland's capable of catching. Roma Dunze was a first-round top 10 pick for them last year. DJ Moore is no laughing joke. I just don't know what to do anymore. And I love Luther Burden, but I'm avoiding him in drafts at this point.
DJ Moore, like you said it best, a valuable wide receiver. The problem with DJ Moore last year was there was multiple plays that he kind of took off. You saw him kind of having a poor connection there with Caleb Williams. Kind of, we saw it during games. There was a lot of like circus stuff happening with the Bears. They do have a new head coach. He might be able to kind of corral him back in there with Ben Johnson. But it wouldn't surprise me none the least, and they know they just extended DJ Moore. It wouldn't surprise me if they decided after seeing Burden play, they could move on from DJ Moore and trade them to a team like the Titans that needs a wide receiver one, a team like the Raiders that are looking for a spark for their offense. And so if they like the play style of DJ Moore, but maybe they don't like what they're seeing in regards to some of the personal stuff with DJ Moore, maybe that's where Burden comes in.
Man, I hope so. I really hope I hope Burden gets the chance to show his true potential on this team. And unfortunately, I think that's going to take some things to open up in order to do that.
Let me show you another option, Colton. Tyler Shough has been drafted by the Saints. I know it's not Shough, it's Shough, but let's face it, it looks like Shough. So they're going to show him the quarterback room, and he's going to look around. He's going to say, look at that guy in the corner. He's in a sling, and he's out the whole season. And Derek Carr. All I have to go up against is the Rattler. Like, this room is wide open to show off his skills. What do you think of Tyler Shough?
I think that Tyler Shough is a schmuck. I think they reached. I think they could have gotten this guy way later. I have no idea. I have no idea what the Saints are doing, man. I
heard they were shown the door at the draft. I heard that they were asked to leave the draft, the Saints.
Really?
After they picked Tyler Shough. Yep.
Interesting.
I don't know what came of it, but that's what I heard.
Yeah, I have no idea what they were doing and why they reached. He's going to be 26 at the end of the season?
At the end of the season.
26
It's going to be a very fine wine.
Yeah, he is. I mean, I guess that we saw some older quarterbacks come out last year that had some experience and it worked out, but they could have just waited and gotten this guy so much later if they wanted him that bad.
They had him graded as their number one quarterback.
I mean, good for them.
Got him in the second round.
The Saints are just one of those franchises that are just trying to stick around the mediocrity line, apparently. They're not apparently being serious about competing. Maybe he proves me wrong. And he turns out to be awesome. But in my opinion, I think they reached, and I mean, good for Tyler Shough. He's going to have the absolute opportunity to start right away. Because it's word Carr's not going to be starting this year at all. And Spencer Rattler showed his colors last year that he's just not able to handle it. So we'll see early on if Schmuck can beat out Rattler, and if he can't, I would be hitting the panic button.
I think the Saints are looking to show their way into the top 5 to 10 picks in next year's NFL draft.
Archman into New Orleans.
They've got a number of picks that they can look at. They've got a couple first round picks next year. The Saints have cap hell, so they just need to get through the next year or so and just eat the cap for once, and then try and push to the future. Mason Taylor, tight end, to the Jets. Jets, Jets. Mason Taylor now a Jet.
Like I said, he doesn't have that dog in him, so it's just the.
I think he's a good tight end. I just don't think he's an elite tight end that's going to help you too much for fantasy football.
Yeah,
he's a solid blocker. He can catch the ball.
He's going to a great opportunity. There's not a lot of pass catchers there. I mean, it's him and Garrett Wilson. I mean, that's about it. So It's a
Lazard's
good
still there.
landing spot. Who?
Lazard's still there.
Who?
Lazard's still there.
Oh,
$14
wait.
million Lazard is still there.
I don't. Did they say his name at all last year? I couldn't remember. Like once, twice, maybe. I don't know. I mean, maybe Brees Hall will catch a couple more passes this year. Hopefully. I mean, that's a
Malachi Corley.
oh man, I wish.
Who was that?
What could have been though? What could have been? I liked him too. This makes me sad.
Boy, they had a wide receiver like Elijah Moore.
I know who's now on the Bills. Bills. Did we have that on our news?
Yeah.
Did you say it?
1 year, $5 million. Elijah Moore.
I must have been fighting with my cat because I love Elijah Moore, and that made me super excited. I've still got him in like so many leagues, so I'm pumped. I'm pumped to have him on the Bills. But anyways,
contract. He's going to have to really prove himself there. It's going to be hard. He plays a similar role to Shakir.
He does. But anyways, decent landing spot for Mason Taylor.
Scrolling down, and the Winter Soldier, Terrence Ferguson, goes to the Los Angeles Rams.
Turd Ferg lands in what a wonderful place.
I'd say the best spot that he could have landed. I think he fits the mold perfectly for the Rams.
Yeah, and we saw, unfortunately, I have been a true believer and a big love of Tyler Higbee, but his knee just got absolutely wrecked that playoff game 2 years ago, and he just couldn't return to form this year. I mean, I know it's the 1 year injury after, but I think he's going to his 33-year-old season, 32. I mean, so he's starting to get older for a tight end, and just coming back from an injury like that. So they're going to be looking for someone to take that place. And I mean, who better than Turd Ferg moving into that spot?
Got one more tight end that's coming out here, Elijah Rojo. He is drafted by the Seahawks, 50th pick overall. He's a top 50 player. We've got 5 tight ends that have been drafted in the top 50. Elijah Rojo goes to the Seahawks. Quickly say what you think about Rojo's landing spot here, and then we've got to figure out in these top 5, like, how do you have these guys ranked?
I like the landing spot for Rojo. I mean, he doesn't have a whole lot of competition there. Is Noah Fant still on that roster, right?
Yep, he is.
Yeah, he's shown that he just isn't the pass-catching kind of tight end, though. I mean, he's going to be a blocking option. Hopefully, Rojo does prove that he can at least be a decent blocker to get out there on that field. But, you know, a good landing spot for him. The thing that does make me just a wee bit nervous is all those slot receivers that run in the same area as the tight end. So who knows what that's going to shake out to look like.
So we got Rojo with the Seahawks. We've got Terrence Ferguson with LA. We've got the Jets with Mason Taylor. You got Loveland and the Bears, and you got Warren with your Colts. How do you have those 5 stacked?
I have it Warren, Loveland, Turd Ferg, Rojo, and then Mason Taylor.
I think I've got it Ferguson, Warren, Rojo, Loveland, Mason Taylor.
All right.
Right now, the Winter Soldier, he's on top of the board. And I got completely sniped this past week in my fantasy draft, the day after the NFL draft. I was ready to hit the button. There was one player ahead of me. There's no chance this guy was going for him. And our friend from Decode the Quarterback, who listens to our pod, who has been on the pod, completely sniped the Winter Soldier from my grasp, and I ended up having to go with Shough instead. I'm so sad. I would have rather had Terrence so bad.
I love hearing you get sniped. It just makes me happy.
I got sniped so bad. He sniped me. Well played. Tip of the hat to you. Well done. We don't have any other leagues with each other. I'm hoping to get him anywhere I can.
This is why you listen to the Healers, is so you can just snipe Dustin and I if you're in any drafts with us. Just tune in and you'll know exactly what we feel about people, because I play it real. I tell you who I love and who I'm going for. So if you're looking to snipe me, just tune in, y'all. But if you're gonna snipe me, at least give me a like and a follow.
Apparently, everyone listens to you anyway, Colton. The first draft we were going on, it was between Burden and Emeka Ibuka, and he went Burden, and he said I had to figure out if I was listening to Colton or to Dustin, and he went Burden. He went to your wide receiver one.
I'm sorry about that. The landing spot wasn't ideal. I love Burden still, and hopefully Dustin's right with them getting rid of Moore. I think he'll live.
Possible.
But
I might be just dreaming here.
but man, I'm
Just like
sorry.
Adam Thielen to the Broncos.
that landing spot's tough. I can't read the future. Dustin's the one that talks to Arnold, not me.
Yeah, we've got the formula to go to the future. That's for sure. Apparently, you've got the hot tub. Trey Harris is a Charger. What does this mean for the Chargers?
For those watching on YouTube, you know what I'm doing.
Night at the Roxbury?
Not at the Roxbury. Love this landing spot. My goodness. I love Trey Harris from the beginning. He was way higher on my boards than what he was most people's. And he comes to a landing spot that needs wide receivers. They need a big dude that can help take some heat off of Lad McConkey. I mean, Justin Herbert, what better quarterback can you land with? I mean, it's just an absolute dream. I love it. And I think he's going to absolutely dominate here. And he's quickly climbing my boards, honestly, even more.
He's got to be the wide receiver too here, right?
Oh, easy.
Mike Williams, he's complete shell of himself. QJ can't catch the ball, hits him right in the face. Nothing. Nope.
Yeah,
no other competition.
As long as he's able to perform, I mean, as long as what I saw on tape wasn't just some weird spoof, my goodness, he's going to instantly become the wide receiver too. He's going to be able to take that heat off of Lad McConkey, which will just make Lad even better. So I just love it even more. I will be scooping him up a lot because I'm big on him, and I'm big on his landing spot. And, you know, I've been hearing a lot of people buzzing now like, oh, Trey Harris, I really did like him before the draft. I'm like, he was down on people's boards, but now that the landing spot and being tied to Justin Herbert, they're starting to love him. But you heard it here first, folks, on the Healers.
In rookie drafts, how high is this guy going in your drafts?
I've seen him in single quarterback leagues going at the beginning of the second is kind of where he's been going. Prior to that, I mean, prior to the draft, he was going mid to late second. So
that's where I'm seeing him in super flex leagues is that mid-second round pick.
Mid-second. I was going to say single quarterback, he was that big beginning second. And in the single quarterback leagues, he was like mid to late. So you're really starting to see him kind of rise up as people are seeing, Lane's in a great spot.
Jack Besh. I think he's a talented wide receiver. He goes to the Raiders, 58th overall. They get him in the second round here. Jack Besh, he's had quite a journey this year, especially. And Vegas, they really want to make some noise. They're trying to lift this franchise up out of the ashes, and they do it with Jack Besh here in the second round, and they go with Ashton Genty there in the first round. I think they're making huge splashes early on in this year's draft.
Yeah, Jack Besh got a lot of buzz out of TCU there after he had played at the Senior Bowl. He's Senior Bowl, right?
Senior Bowl, and then
Senior Bowl or Shrine Bowl.
And the Combine, both. He did well there too.
But made huge splashes at the Senior Bowl and was showing off a lot and looked really good. So a lot of people had him climbing. I believe my thing was that he had the dog in him, and he does. He fights every single snap, every single down. Whenever the ball's in his hand, he's fighting. And so what a great landing spot for him to go to where there's not a lot of competition, and he'll be able to start competing from day one. I like Jacoby Myers a lot, but Jacoby Myers is kind of he's a guy he's a reliable wide receiver, but he's not like Besh and where he's a fighter. So Besh could walk on here and fight for that wide receiver one position and fight for those targets. So especially with a capable quarterback like Geno here.
Next pick is really exciting. RJ Harvey, or should I say RJ Harley. Ends up with the Broncos. He takes his journey, and now now the Broncos finally have a running back. Now our Colton, I gotta say, it's hard for me to rank where RG Harvey should be going as far as like the running back position. He's an older prospect, 24, but he had the second most explosive plays, only behind Genty. I keep flip flopping between him at like the second or third running back in this year's draft. What
I,
do you
wa- I wasn't ready for the. I had no idea that was loaded on here for that. just just making it up as we go here, folks. Anyways, I like RJ Harvey. You were super high on him at the beginning. We kind of had him flip flop with a couple of guys actually. But what a good landing spot for him to go to. The Broncos backfield was wide open, and now even more with Javonte Williams out of the way. I mean, even though he wasn't doing great for the Broncos, he was still kind of their go-to guy. But he is now there with Dallas, and so it's wide open for him. He's going to be the starter day one. And in regards to him being 24 years old, with the running back, we don't really care that much. You're looking for a guy that's going to get you at least 2 to 3 years, and he can do that. You can run until he's 26-year-old. He's just now coming into the league. He may not get you a second contract, so you better be looking to be a contender in these next couple of years with them. He ain't getting that second contract with his age, but that you're only trying to ride him out for a couple of years anyways.
Yep. And I made a mistake in the pre-draft, rookie draft. I was between RJ Harvey and Alec Aomanor at like the 208 or 29. I went Alec because I was like, well, who has the stronger chance of getting to me at like that 3-6 spot? And then I tried trading back in, and the two picks after me, they weren't having it. And the 301, I tried trading back in. He's like, I just don't see anything that, is being sent that would lead me away from RJ Harvey. And I was like, no. And just between that and, the disaster that is Sanders, that one was pretty tough, but I got him later in that draft. That's the second round. I think we'll have enough time to maybe go through the round 3, and then we'll save day 3 NFL draft perspectives for the next pod. Does that sound okay to you there, Colton?
Sounds good to me.
Okay. So hitting and starting us off here, we go back to the turd that is the Browns. Harold Fannin Jr. is drafted at the 3 spot here in the 3rd round. Harold Fannin is now trapped behind Njoku. This was one, I think, our friend at Decode the Quarterback, he's come out with his own model for wide receivers. I think he's done running backs, but I know he's definitely leaning into the tight ends. And Harold Fannin Jr., I believe, was his number 1. And you can find him at Tier 1 Quarterback on Twitter X. He had changed his tag. So please go check out some of his stuff and his models. I'll give a shout out to him. Hey, Zach. Harold Fannin Jr., this tight end, supposedly the wide receiver, or the tight end 1 here. I don't see it. I'm sorry. I don't see it here with the Browns, not behind Njoku, not between the circus that is the quarterbacks and the lack thereof wide receiver weapons. It's a tough division. He's going to need some time to stew.
I really liked Harold Fannin Jr. I liked him a lot. He was pretty high up there on my tight end board in this landing spot. Just terrible. Because I love Njoku, and no one's taken out Njoku. He's the Browns have proven that they
years
love
to break
him.
out.
Yeah,
Njoku took 6 years to break out.
Yeah, and they love him now too, and he's just an absolute beast for them out on the field. We've seen him do it back-to-back years now. He finally broke out 2 years ago. Last year continued his reign, and I don't see him stopping anytime soon. So it just kind of sucks that he lands there behind Njoku.
The Patriots, they finally select a wide receiver in this NFL draft. They waited until the 3rd round, 5th pick in the 3rd round, to get Kyle Williams out of Washington State. Kyle Williams, he was an interesting prospect coming out, but I felt like it was an early pick, especially with players like Alec Anemander that was still on the board. I was like, where's he at? Where's he at? And they end up going with Kyle Williams here. Is he now the Patriots wide receiver 1?
Yeah, they've
Oh,
got a bunch of
they have Diggs. They got Diggs.
they have a bunch of wide receiver 3s on their team at this point, and he's just adding to their 3 depth. I don't know that much about him because I wasn't that excited about him. I watched a little tape on him, but he's kind of a guy. He's just a guy, and I think the Patriots know they're just not ready to be the team that competes. But my goodness, at some point they're gonna have to invest into the offense and help out their quarterback because it's gonna be ugly.
I've got a feeling it's electric. Woogie, 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 woogie. Isaac Tesla is drafted by the Lions.
I had no idea where you were going with that.
It's electric.
No, I thought maybe I said something though, like that time after time thing. Time after time. I was like, did I say something?
Oh, did you just say it right now, Colton? Did you just say it?
Added it. Added it. But anyways, interesting pick once again. I think they're just trying to get a little bit of depth. Nothing but a depth piece. Doesn't really spark my interest all that much.
What do you think? Where I can kind of see this kind of spin in is they traded up for him, Colton. My understanding is they traded a couple future third round picks in order to draft Tesla here at this spot. They absolutely love what they see in this raw talent that is Isaac Tesla. And, his play style really reminds me of is J-Mo's. And if you remember, J-Mo was a first round pick that the Lions had taken, and he was coming off of an ACL injury. It took a little while for him to, actually start to play and get better. And, the ascension that was Amon-Ra St. Brown really kind of dampened that ascension. I don't know if they want to do the 5-year tag on him or provide an extension on JMO. And so I feel like they're going to give Tesla every opportunity to maybe step into that role as the season goes on, and they could decide to move on from JMO.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen him finally kind of break out and them start using him. But I mean, there's always that possibility. But is he going to year 4? JMO is already, or is he year 3 this year?
Got to be 4, I think.
I think it is year 4. So yeah, I mean, they could use it in that possibility, or they give JMO every opportunity to even step up a little bit more to see. But we could see this Detroit offense be completely different as well because they lost their offensive mind in Ben Johnson there. So maybe they're looking to do something a little bit different this year to have a couple of speedier guys.
I mean, I could see Tesla drive right past JMO on the depth chart. Pat Bryant, wide receiver, he got drafted here by the Broncos. What do you think about Pat Bryant of the Illini? I thought it was such a reach.
I didn't even watch this guy, so I couldn't even begin to tell you, man. I had no idea.
I had him. It was a bit down in the rankings, but having him here in the 3rd round again over Alec Ayomanor, I'm like, what are we seeing here? What are we looking at? Who's picking here? Is this Sean Payton, or is this somebody else doing a favor, for another player or coach? I will not have any Pat Bryant in any of my dynasty leagues.
Me neither. Nope.
Probably ever. Sorry, Pat. Nothing against you. I just felt like it was a reach. I feel like there's a lot of other better situations to go after. Jalen Knoll being one of those decisions, he ends up with the Texans. Now both Iowa State guys get drafted by the same team with the Texans. And if you recall, Xavier Hutchinson was also a prior Iowa State wide receiver. So they actually have 3 Iowa State wide receivers on their roster at this current time.
It's an Iowa State party. I do like this landing spot for him. We both actually did like Jalen Knoll here, and so I do like this landing spot. It's a good spot having him tied in with on the Texans there.
I thought it was a better fitting style for Noel to go here than Higgins, and only because I thought Higgins overlapped a little bit too much. Um, you know, and I think Noel has a little bit more wheels, and he could kind of spread the field a little bit more and kind of open the lanes there for Nico.
Yeah, I can definitely do that. Be a field spreader, but he's if my memory serves me right, he's a little bit smaller of the two. So he
He
kind of
is.
takes over that, yeah, like that Tank Dell role and can kind of play that more role that they might be looking for because poor Tank just can't stay healthy, man.
Well, and don't forget Christian Kirk's there also in the slot.
Oh, I do forget that. Man,
Yep. So they've
do
got
forget that.
what was once a porous wide receiver core last year when Nico left, now has a number of options. And so the Texans, they're not kidding around. They needed their wide receivers and they needed them early.
Yeah, and Stroud. I mean, Stroud's the true benefactor of all of this too, especially.
Not Iowa State, but Iowa. Caleb Johnson gets drafted by the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think this was about one of the best landing spots that he could have landed in.
Yeah, what a great landing spot. Fell a little bit more than what I think everyone thought he was going to. A lot of people were waiting to see his name kind of come off late first, from what I was hearing, to the second
I thought he was a
round.
second round. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there was talks that some teams could reach for him in that late first, but that fall to the third round here, what a great landing spot to land with the Steelers. Pretty much a wide open backfield, besides Jalen Warren. Someone I'm not really concerned about taking touches away. We've seen what Jalen Rollins' role is, and I think Caleb Johnson easily takes that over here.
The Packers decide to go with wide receiver Savion Williams, who I believe is actually going to be their running back 2 for their team and actually be converted into a Cordero Patterson role.
Don't do that to Marshawn Lloyd, man. Don't do it.
I have Marshawn in a number of leagues, but that's the only way I see Savion fitting in this team is turning into the RB2.
Yeah, I don't know what Green Bay's doing, man. I don't know. It's
Was
just
not the right dart throw.
no, not the right dart throw. They're making weird, desperate moves. I think to kind of like appease the fan base. I don't know. It's just interesting what they're doing, is throwing darts at these wide receivers.
So far, Savion has been a waiver ad in each of the 2 rookie drafts that I've done so far. So you don't necessarily have to waste a rookie pick on him. You can wait till waivers goes. And if you want to be like a certain person in one of my leagues that's a huge Packers fan and waste almost all your fab on a guy like that, please do, and not have any fab for your team for the rest of the year. And we will be sniping every other waiver wire available. Thank you. Jalen Milroe, quarterback, Alabama, is now a Seattle Seahawk. He's sitting there now right only behind Sam Darnold and Drew Lock. We've seen those other 2 quarterbacks fail in the league. Like, Milroe has upside. If he gets the opportunity, he's at least going to put some miles on his shoes.
I mean, if I'm getting him in a super flex league, mid to late third, I'll take the shot. I mean, we've seen Sam Darnold see ghosts. We've seen Drew Lock just be Drew Lock, and he's kind of capable here and there, and then just vanishes.
Like his last game of the season with the Giants.
Yeah, just absolute terrible. And then blows up. I just don't understand.
He had like 4 touchdowns in that game,
I
didn't
know.
he?
Yeah. Like I said, he just vanishes
Or was it
and then he
5?
blows
It
up.
was 4 or
Blows up
5
and
for
vanishes.
sure.
Yeah, absolutely dominated. So it's definitely interesting. We've seen this happen in the past where we doubt a quarterback because he's just a running guy and he can't throw in college, and then he goes and wins the Super Bowl. Jalen Hurts, everybody was down on him. So if he falls enough for me, I'll take a shot on him because he does have the athletic ability and the rushing upside and has opportunity to be able to play actually. I'm not by any means going to reach on this guy. If there is better players that I see fit on the board, absolutely, I'm going to go take my shot on the other guys. But if I see him falling and people are similar to me where they're like, I don't really like this guy that much, and they're just going to let him drop, I'll take my shot on him in the third.
I don't think there's no way Milroe falls to the third round. He's going to be at the very least a middle of the second round pick in your rookie drafts and Superflex. And I was going to say, actually, Colton, instead of taking a dart at the end of the first round, I would rather spend a middle to late second round pick on Milroe with the chance of him increasing in value, showing that he's got some wheels, showing he has upside, even if it's for a game or two. You don't think you can turn that into a first round pick like that?
You obviously don't own a whole lot of Anthony Richardson.
There was opportunities to sell Richardson. There was opportunities. I have 2 shares of Richardson, and I'm holding the bag right now. But I've also got Indiana Jones on my roster also, and you know what that means. Him and Tyler Warren are going to make some sweet, sweet music on that field come those Sunday night football games.
One of my good buddies did put it in a good way. He said, you have the upside of Anthony Richardson without having to pay that first round price in Milroe. So it's not a bad way to look at it that in that light.
One of my favorite quarterbacks going into this year's NFL draft got drafted earlier. Well, I'd say still maybe earlier than I was expecting. Definitely earlier than another quarterback that still hasn't been drafted yet, Sanders. Dillon Gabriel gets drafted by the Browns. And at this point in the draft, it's a little exciting because he only has to go up against like Flacco and the Super Bowl winning quarterback, Kenny Pickett. And then you got Dillon Gabriel, who played really well for Oregon. At this time, I thought it was pretty exciting. But as we know, and what we're going to get to in a later episode, is that Sanders is actually going to be drafted with the Browns also. Just a circus. It's the best way I can say it, is a circus with the quarterbacks. But, at least give it to the Browns for them, at least taking a couple shots at quarterback in this draft. Third round, fifth round, like there's low risk, high reward. And if it doesn't work out, there's always next year.
Yeah, I mean, as we find out later in this draft, as them sending a message to the Sanders boys, they do draft Sanders later on, who I think is the one that they truly wanted. I think it was more of a statement, which we can talk about him more on the next podcast. But it just dampens Dillon Gabriel's, draft stock, because he's going to be fighting at this point. And between the two, I truly do believe that Sanders probably has the upside on him. It's just more the off-field stuff for Sanders that was keeping him off the draft boards. So it's going to be a fight, and he's going to have to really try to prove himself. And he doesn't have the name behind him either. That's going to really help boost him up there. So he's going to have to be fighting every single snap and be perfect, which is just unfortunate.
Yeah, I've heard this in a few podcasts, one of them being Destination Devi, and they made a good point. And they said that, they could thrust this guy in there at the quarterback position with Dillon Gabriel, and it would not take much for the fans to start yelling and saying, put Sanders in. And it really wouldn't give him much of a shot or an opportunity, and he really wouldn't have much of a leash when he plays, and he'd have to be completely seamless and show some upside in his play in order for Sanders not to completely just, jump the shark.
Yeah, and Sanders, I think, is the more accurate quarterback, and I think, it would just take the crowd to yell and put in Sanders. Sanders makes a couple good plays, and that's the end of Gabriel. So he's going to have to play perfect if he ever gets the opportunity, that is. And, he could be just honestly just a meat shield, here as they enter the season and they're not quite prepared, and they're like, we're going to try both these guys out, and they go up against someone and they just try out Gabriel, and he's just a meat shield.
Super Bowl winning Kenny Pickett said that he was going to be the starter for the Browns and he was going to lead them to wins. I could see this quickly dampening and basically feel like he's getting spit in the face. And I could see him requesting that he wants to get traded or wants out of the Browns organization and try and hitch a rope onto another team. We've already seen Flacco take a huge step back from his 2023 season in this just past year in 2024. I don't think that he's the answer for the Browns. And so that pretty much just leaves Dylan Gabriel and Sanders as potentially the starters at some point, maybe early on in this year's season.
Yeah, especially with it coming out that Deshaun Watson may not be healthy for this year at all. It all depends on his things. I don't think the Browns want to put him out there anyways. They're looking to just pretty much going to have to eat his money and just let it ride out at this point. So it'll be interesting to see what the future is. It's going to be a quarterback battle, but we'll see how fair and even this fight is.
I don't think Deshaun Watson takes another stamp for the Browns.
No.
So I didn't even bring up his name throughout this entire pod. I kept thinking, a shoulder injury, and then I forgot his Achilles ruptured also, and so he's had all kinds of problems outside, health, mental, what have you, everything. And
What could have been?
What could have been for Deshaun Watson, and he's not hurting. He's got tons of money, and I think that's where, end of the day, he's just going to have to sit on his bags of cash on his couch and watch and see how this quarterback corral turns out.
Yeah.
Colton, we made it through round 1, round 2, round 3. And next week, we're going to go over day 3, rounds 4 through 7. And we'll, again, just kind of see where everyone lands. There's just so much to decipher. And then finally, after that, we've got to go back into some of this rookie talk, maybe relook at some of the rankings. What rookies are we seeing that are ascending? Which ones that are falling? Who's the risers? Who's the fallers? And let's talk about some of our rookie drafts also while we're going along too.
Yeah, it's time to get into like some of the analytics of the risers and fallers and like these landing spots and everything and how they're affecting stock. Like I said, I've been a big advocate for draft talent, not position. But sometimes it's so hard to ignore that sweet position, especially when it's someone that you really believed in, and then they ended up landing in an awesome spot. So, just got to keep an eye on how these guys rise and fall to that. Know your league too. That's one of the big things. Know the people that you play with and how they feel about certain players. Reach out for feelers and see what they need as well. And that's how you get these big steals and some of these risers and fallers to work in your favor.
Colton, I want to thank you. This is episode 50, and I couldn't have been here without you. I tried doing a podcast before, and it's just not the same when you're doing it all by yourself. I feel like we're a good yin and yang. It's been fantastic. It's been fun. And you know what? Let's hear for 50 episodes.
Man, it's been a blast. I'm glad we decided to get together and do this. It's been absolutely awesome. We've had our struggles with scheduling sometimes, but hey, I'm glad we made it to here. And I don't see us stopping anytime soon because I love every minute of it.
Get in your Tesla. We can show you a show. I don't know.
What about the Harley? The Harley.
The Harley, yeah. You can take a Tesla. You can take a Harley. Just come watch our show. And I hope you guys all enjoyed these first 50 episodes. We are the Fantasy Football Healers. We will be back next week with the return of the draft, 4th round through the 7th round. And thank you all for listening.
Salud.